My name is Cindy Cruz, and at a young age, my family went through what many families have been going through for many years now, and those are divorces. When I was about 7, my father left our home, taking with him the majority of the income, the majority of what seemed to be everything, really. It really left my family very broken. And so that left my mother, single housekeeper at the time, with the task of having to raise 3 growing children. My younger brother Moses, as you see him there, and my older sister Michelle, my only sister. I have 4 other half-brothers, but that left us with having to have a diet that was very high in a lot of processed food. My mother received help from the government and, food stamps. You had to buy what was going to fill your bellies, not just be healthy for you. And so my family turned to a lot of carbs and a lot of more processed, sugars and refined sugars and all of these things. And as I grew, when I was about the age of 18 years old, I was weighing a solid 200 pounds. The diet that I was eating was not helpful, along with the depression that as I grew, I began to suffer. For many years, my family did not know the depression that I suffered because it appeared to be always that I was the most content. But oftentimes when we are in depression, we begin to search for those avenues to appear to be content. And so I was always goofing around, and taking pictures was my least favorite thing to do. So I was always making funny faces or, doing something goofy in the background of videos and things like that. But on the inside, I was suffering very much. I did not understand how to fill the void, really, that had been left in my family. And so I began to study. I was very devoted to my education when I was in high school, and when I even went on for college for a couple of semesters. But while I was there, the depression did not get any better. It just worsened. And at the time, I had begun to attend church, and I really enjoyed always to be able to share and to be helpful. I really enjoyed being able to read my Bible and sort of analyze all the things that it said in there. But I did not really understand or have an experience for myself. And so I just began very devoted in all the things that we were doing in church. And at the time, when I was about 18 years old, this is the fall of 2008, we had a camping trip with all of the neighboring sister churches, if you will. And in the camping trip, we had something called the Bible Bowl on the book of Daniel. And we spent months studying that book. Months of crucial studying every Friday evening until midnight. And I was able to make it to the final 3. And that was a great blessing in and of itself. And as we went through the game, I actually was the winner. And the prize at the time was a trip to something called GYC in San Jose, California. And I was just so excited because I always wanted to go to California, but I never thought why I would get there or how I would get there, for what reason. And so it was a great blessing for me. While I was there, I was able to meet a lot of people, and one friend that I made in particular invited me when we would return. They just so happened to be from Orlando as well, to go with me, to accompany them, to a church that they had just begun visiting. And when we returned, I went, and they were having a health seminar, and the pastor was speaking about Genesis and the original diet, and how as Christians we are able to overcome the intemperance that many suffer, and that I was even suffering from, not only intemperance in my diet, but in the things that I was doing, just the idleness, the laziness, watching TV, and all these things that I really love to do were contributing to my health, to my stress, to my unhappiness. And so as I went through the whole Daniel, studies, and I heard this sermon, I was really touched. And I had a lot of friends that were willing to help me at the time. And having that support system was really crucial for me. At the time, my family did not really understand why I was wanting to make the changes, but I knew that the Lord would have to have a blessing in store for me, not because I wanted to lose weight, but because I really saw how, changing my diet would affect me, emotionally, mentally, and especially spiritually. And so by the time my nephew was 2, there he is there, I had already begun to make many changes. By the time it was my nephew's 3rd birthday, I had lost an additional 25 pounds. And here's my nephew, Joel's, and he has been to me one of the greatest inspirations for my sticking really to, making the more decided efforts to maintain a healthful life. When he was born, I spent a lot of time with him, and he just became, my best friend and my little companion, and we were always together and just always, laughing together and smiling together and taking naps together, going to church together, to the playground together, to the beach. I took him to the first time, and so I spent a lot of fond memories and a lot of time with him. However, oftentimes I found that it was difficult to keep up with him, or when he wanted me, to go down a slide with him, I was too big, or to swing, I was too big, and oftentimes embarrassed to even be able to do those things. And so oftentimes I kept him in mind, not only him, but all of the children that I was at the time. I was at a daycare, and all those children that I was always wanting to keep up with, and I was not able to. And so I began to eat my fruits and to spend time outside and outdoors. And as time progressed, the Lord continued to bless me with, being more restored into a healthful body. And that same year in October, I became a nanny, and I began to work with a wonderful family, and their little girl was the one that I spent most of my time with during the day. And her favorite time to eat was, lunchtime, of course, but I should say her favorite time of the day was lunchtime. And I soon realized that how powerful my example was to her. If I was eating spinach and avocado, she wanted to eat spinach and avocado. Whatever I was eating, she wanted to eat. And if I thought it was good, then she wanted it. And so I began to realize how important it is for us to set the right example for our families and for even especially our children. And so Morgan and I began to do a lot of baking and a lot of cooking. We would make cookies, and she would love to get her hands dirty and lick the bowls and, do all those things that we are able to do when we're that age. And along with that, I was able now to spend a lot of times outdoors. Being in the daycare confined me, but now we were able to spend more times at the park, by the lake, feeding the ducks and taking bike rides and going for long walks for 45 to an hour at a time. And it was a great blessing, because before I really saw the idleness that I was suffering, always wanting to be outdoors. But children just have that, they seem to never really run out of batteries, and so they really motivate you. And I began to really grow a fondness for the Lord's creative work. I mean, the same way that He is able to keep the sky above me and the water still is the same way that He is wanting me to not be stressed and to not be worried and to be in good health. By the time that it was Thanksgiving, my family began to finally become more accustomed to my physical change. I mean, at the time I had lost 60 pounds and I was down to 150, and they themselves also began to implement in their lives different health principles that they were able to learn. And I was very thankful, because not only with the cooking, and with the spending time outdoors, but I was also able to spend a lot of time cultivating my talent of working with children. The Lord has truly blessed me with that, and I thank Him for it all the time, because I don't have children of my own, but I am able to say that everywhere I go, I have at least one child. And here's some of my kids here. We were gathered together at a meeting, and I'm never without a trail of children behind me. And so I currently am the Sabbath school teacher, and I do most of the children's stories at the church where I attend. And I'm thankful that because of the work that I do with children, I am able to reach the families and to reach the parents. Every time one of my friends is having a child, or if they're on the way to the hospital, they always call me, and I'm always one of the first ones to go. And to be able to share those words, to encourage them that those things that they do in front of their children, that they will, that their children will learn from them, and just to be that great example. And so I currently now am working with a new family, and this is my little girl now, and here we're making spaghetti sauce, and she also enjoys, and she just loves to cook and chop up the onions and stir up the spaghetti and be able to be a part of practical, healthful living. We have to be able to make an effort and allow the Lord to truly mold us into that which He would want us to be. And as I presently stand now, I have, that continual just growing desire of asking the Lord to continue to use me and continue to show me what else He is able to do for me. And so, as the sign says here in a garden that we often go to, this is my prayer and this is my desire, because I know that if the Lord has been able to do such a great work for me already in being able to restore my health, that He is able to continue to do that work. I'm thankful for the children that He has blessed me with, that I am able to be a greater example to them, and not only to them, but to their families, and not only their families, but Lord willing, all the families of the earth. And so I encourage you to never think that man's ways are the ways that things are to be done, but to look for the Lord, that He is able to restore us, He is able to save us, He is able to give us a joy that nothing earthly really can give us. And that is my story, and I can only really tell you the things that the Lord has done for me, and truly it is a blessing for me now to see how emotionally I am restored, how spiritually I am restored, and physically as well. The physical was sort of a plus, but I'll take it also.